I think let's just go ahead and get started, right? So um, we are launching a series of webinars now that will be done monthly, where we're going to deep dive into a topic around the Asset Guardian. We have invested a lot of time and money into the product over the recent, well, obviously years, but even most recent months. We've made significant upgrades and changes to the Asset Guardian. One of those that we're very proud of, and something that makes the product much more powerful, is our mobile app. Mobility has always been very important in the maintenance world, and we do have a reactive web application that works on tablets and on phones. That web application must be connected to the internet. So we really needed a solution for our customers and technicians to be able to work offline. So we developed our mobile app. But obviously the app comes with its own power and features that is not available in a reactive web application. So we're able to leverage some of the technology on the phone. So we're finding our customers more and more using the mobile app. This is available for iOS and Android. And so what we want to do today is just kind of walk through a basic overview of the app and give you an introduction to it. Lou Hum, Senior Solution Architect, Senior Consultant for our company, is going to give us a walkthrough of Tag Mobile. If you have any questions at any time, please put those in the chat. Obviously, this will be recorded, so it'll be available later. But we'd love any kind of interaction. So if you've got a question, we'll be happy to try to answer that before we get off the webinar. Lou, do you want to go ahead and get started?
Yeah. So good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Just wanted to start with, sharing my screen here on the Tag Mobile app here. So just gonna walk through this quickly. So this is the mobile app. It's running on my iPhone at this point. It's Dora mentioned this can also run on Android. And I'm just going to give just a quick overview of what we're going to go through today, just reviewing all the overall functionality and navigation, and then walking through a business scenario where a requester would log an issue, a first-line tech would review the issue and estimate the effort and time, and then a second-line technician would actually do the work and close the work order. So that's what we're going to kind of walk through from a business perspective. But I'll go through some of the functionalities in the screen. So I'll just start with the menu layout that you have here. You can see that tells you what city I'm in and the degrees in terms of letting you know where we are. But we'll also have what we call the home screen, is basically giving you the list of all the assets there are, and based off of this Montreal and Toronto, these are facilities necessarily. So these can be formatted from facilities, enterprise, or regions, and filtered out. We can also see outstanding work orders and history as well. So if I were to go into the view all on the assets, as you can see, we can see quite a bit of the assets are in there, and if there are pictures, we will be able to see them as well. One of the nice features of using a phone or a tablet, you can actually scan for particular assets as well. So if I were to click on the little camera up on the icon there, and if I scan a QR code, I can actually grab the asset that I was looking for, which was a building B, and you can see we can grab that information on that. So we can, all the information that's here is what we've selectively taken from the Tag software. Obviously, this is the most used fields, and we're going to expand on that as well. And we can also switch on the scanning, and you can actually just search by names, etc. So if I were to look at something like pressure, and I will be able to see all the assets that has that name of pressure. And the list of assets are critical because of on mobility, as you know, some Some assets could be in the thousands or tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands, where we can actually filter by different facilities that there would be and regions and enterprise. And all this is based off of a security setting for users. So depending on the technician that may work on particular region, they will only be able to see their region and their work orders, and that will make it a little easier grabbing information on the phone as well, especially on the offline capability, because we can synchronize all that data as well. And we'll walk through that as well. One of the other things, if I go back to the menu, which is the upper left-hand corner, we can see that the home where we're at, and right now we're in asset. We have work orders, requests, time register, so we're able to clock in time and enter time manually as well. So we have two options. So for people who are tracking the exact date and time when they start to work, we can clock in on work orders and requests and do the work, or we can log in the time afterwards. We can issue POs from here as well. This is a functionality within Tag leveraging Business Central, but we can create the POs from here, and we can check on inventory. So if technicians are looking for a particular part, they will be able to query where their items are. And obviously the sync. So the sync is really for the offline stuff. I'm just going to go to the settings side just to give you a quick view of the different features within here. So if those who are using Tag Portal, we're leveraging the same or similar technology in terms of getting the user, I'll call security, as well as their user tag mobile user profile, which enables them to see what the users are and what group they belong to, and other neat things like we can switch companies within an environment for either your production or test environment and the various companies you may have in a company. And some phone permissions as well, in terms of whether you're able to use a camera, microphone, etc., in order to do the scanning. One of the key things that I mentioned earlier with the access. So as you can see, I have full access right now. So I have all filters for all the facilities, enterprise regions that I can get to. And this is all managed within Tag on the desktop version, or the web version, I should say. And security as well, we just talked about in terms of all the different functionality a user will be able to do with that particular profile. And we have a little support thing as well. So if there are any issues, you can log support, and that will go directly to our support department. And notifications. And one of the neat things of leveraging some of the phone technologies on the iPhone as well, and the Android app, you can turn on notifications for different functions as they're updated in the workflow. Coming back to just the offline synchronization side of things, this is really where all the technology side of things as opposed to being fully online, we're going offline. These are the exact tables, and kind of, I'll call them tables, but some of them are actually just API calls of different areas where we're grabbing information. As you can see, there, I also told you the number of records right now. As you can see on the feedback, there's 109, finished work orders 109. So if I wanted to synchronize, and I won't do it now because it'll take about 2-3 minutes to synchronize the full database based off of, or the full company based off what I'm using, it'll take some time. I can also synchronize individually as well. So there's something I wanted to, let's say, synchronize like the facility. There's two of them there. If I click on it, it will go and pull those particular records for that table only. Right. So these are neat things that is there in case there are some things that you want to synchronize right away, knowing that it's been updated in the original company. So activities, we're not seeing anything here right now, but if I was offline and I have no connectivity at all the calls or work orders or functions that have been updated in my phone will be synchronized to the Tag database at that point in time. So these are open record. So that if you're working offline, you'll see all the activities of them that has not been synchronized. And once you go on, it will be synchronized at that point in time. You have a history of all the different synchronizations that's occurred. So as of right now, I just did one at 10:11, one table. That was the facility table I just did earlier. And then just prior to this presentation, there was an incremental update. So anytime you log in and you do have updates that get synchronized, and a full one was done at one point. So we can see the different activities of the sync. If I look at settings, this is where it is really the key part. So if I was a user and I want to work offline, I can actually change the mode I'm working online or offline, but I can also do the automatic, so that if I was online and I get to an area where I do not have internet or spotty internet, it will then leverage, look at the data on the phone before it will start updating information online. So there's a full architectural diagram on that we can share on another time, but that is pretty neat functionality and architecture, how we have done this sync between the mobile and tag. So I'm going to just run through a scenario, because in typical scenario I'm just looking at is really to run through putting in a request. So if I were to come back just to the asset area and let's say I do a request. So if I'm a requester, I can either just go in and grab the asset that I want to pick, or I can just go ahead and scan something. So if I scan something here, I'm scanning a clinic building here as an asset. And as you can see, it pulls up the asset. I can take a look at different information of that asset here, but just to get an idea, if I click on to-dos, these are all the outstanding work orders that are available for that particular asset that needs to be done. And if I go through the history, and I can drill into it as well and take a look at the details behind them. I'm in a finished work order now. Let's go back to the work orders. If we can see here, I go back to my asset here. So I'm at my to-dos, and I can also go and take a look at, whoops, I just jumped, let me scan my item again. One too many backward there, grab that one. I can take a look at the history, which I clicked on earlier, but I was on the finished work orders. I can take a look at notes. These are the feedback that are done in tag as well. So those are users of tags will know where those feedback and comments are coming from. And I can also see the assembly of that particular asset. So as you know, there's a hierarchy behind particular assets. So there are different assemblies or two different assets underneath that. And then I can go drill further and further back as well. Other things that are interesting within that building, let me go back to that building here, is attachments. So if I have any attachments associated to it and where this particular asset is located. So if I'm just going to click on this, I can see exactly where the asset is located at that point. So that's useful when we're doing actual work orders that we are going to create something. So going back to that particular asset, I'm going to now go ahead and create a request. So the request is as simple as clicking on the action button, and I can either create a PO request or a work order. I'm going to go ahead and create a request. And let's say on that particular asset, let's say the lights are out. Oops, lights out. All right. So if I needed to put a description of that particular request, and there are other fields that I can either put in or not, but I would just say that we made it very simple and within tag as well, that you can configure to allow require particular fields to be filled out or leave it open. So on this particular case, I'm leaving it open. I'm just typing in something that needs to be done for an asset, and I can put in extra comments as working yesterday sort of thing, right? So I can just type that in. I can put in estimates here as well, but what I want to do is really, I just want to be able to describe the issue and maybe take a picture as well. So this is leveraging the technology of the phone or the features of the phone. I can go ahead and take a picture of that particular issue, and at that point submit. So this is a requester that does not need to fill in a whole bunch of information. And I went down to the building level because you're just identifying where you are, and we can go ahead and update information afterward to put in the correct equipment at that point. So now if I'm now looking at it from a requester, I've done my request. Now I got a first line text that's going to go in there and take a look at what the issue is and determine what the solution may be. So if I were just to come back here, I can go back to my, I'm just going to go back home here a sec. Go back to requests. I see there's the lights out one that was just generated right now. So I'm the first line technician now. I'm going to walk in and I'm going to want to be able to see what the issue is. And that's my first request I'm going to review. And if I'm using the business scenario where I want to be able to clock in things, I'm going to go in and clock in to start the work. So I'm going to go ahead and clock in and say you want to assure you want to clock in. Now this starts a timer, and more importantly, it knows exactly the date and time the work has started. So that counter has started at that point. And at that point, I can take a look at this request and say, let's see where the issues are. And I can just click on the notes in the bottom here, and I can see there's lights out and it was working yesterday. And if I wanted to, I can also go see the phone, the picture on my phone. So if I click on attachments here, I can see there's a picture that's on top. That picture is just the picture of that particular building. And I can go ahead and view that. As you can see, that's the building we're at. And that came from actually the asset itself. But the work order one I just took right now with the picture of my keyboard there. And I can take a look where the issue is and work from there. Let me just X out here some time. So now that I've seen the issue, then I can diagnose it and determine what I need to do or assign somebody to do to work on it. So I can clock out here. I can convert to work order right away, but I'm going to edit this. And now I'm going to fill out additional information. I can change the asset to the actual equipment that I'm working on, or I can also change the order type that automatically came in as CM for corrective maintenance. I can pick the work code, and these are tagged functionality, and pick the priority as well. Let's say it's urgent, need to be within 24 hours. And I can have a specific date and time on that as well if I need to put that information in. So if I go next, I can put in additional comments as well. Let's say replace part here. I'm just going to go here. Whoops, bad spelling. The replace parts. I can estimate the time it needs to do to make that change as well. I can also pick the part as well. So I could go ahead and I can actually type in and search the parts here as well. So if I want to search a part, or I can actually scan the part as well. So I'm going to grab something here. And let's say I needed to change a module. It was pretty quick, but I was scanning a QR code of a module, so I can take a look at what that module is, and I can see the description, and I can pick also, depending on whether you need the requirements of locations and bins where that part would be, and that will grab my things. I can add additional parts as well at that point, but I have that part in there now, and I can take more pictures. But at this point, I've estimated time. I know the part that needs to be done, and now I would convert that into a work order. So now that we have that's converting to a work order, now the third line technician could come in and do the work. So I'm just going to come back to my work order screen here. Just let it update. When I'm scrolling down here, think of it as your phone swiping down, and it will update at that point in time. So there's a synchronization that occurs as reading it because I'm online, but if I'm offline, I'm reading existing orders that got synchronized from the morning or prior to going offline. So now that I'm here, that I'm thinking to myself, well, I forgot to clock out. So if I go back into my notifications, it tells me that I'm actually clocked in at this point. So I'm just going to go ahead and clock out. So I can put a comment for the clock out or just clock out here. And now it just noted that my request, I spent 3 minutes doing the work, and now it's clocked out of that particular one. So now that I'm clocked out, I'm going to go back to my work order list here. So that's my work order list. I went back to my first technician, but I'm now to my second technician. And again, we can clock out here as well, or we can log time. So at this time, I'm just going to log time after the fact, but I can go ahead and clock it in through here as well if I wanted to go through that. But now that I'm looking at the work order, I want to be able to see information about this work order. So I can, in the bottom here, I'm on the info tab, but now I'm going to go to the source tab. It tells me that I came from a request onto a work order. So you can see the history behind all the history behind this particular transaction, and what we'll call the UDN, or the unique document number. And we can also see what the parts, we call them the usages, and we can see that it's recommending for that smart management part. So this is kind of like a part list that a technician can go and make sure they have in their truck before they go out and do the repair, and the actual task itself. So we can take a look at the task behind that. But before I go there, I'm just going to go to the more area. So I'm just going to see. I can see here where the location is right now, and I'm not sure if I picked the right one now. Yeah, I picked the wrong one, but you can see I'm where the part is right now. So one of the things is that we have geo-fencing on this particular software as well, that allows us to say within X amount of meters. If you're not in the facility, you cannot actually do the work. And I can show you that in another work order that's further away, because this one I am actually here. So that is one thing that's neat, and I can figure out how to drive to someplace using the phone as well. So I'm just going back to that lights out and just now trying to go ahead and walk through doing the work. So I've done all my work at this point. So I'm looking at the task that was estimated to be done. I finished my work, and I'm just going to go in here. Whoops, hang on. Hit the wrong button. Sorry. I got to go and report to maintenance. I got my work order open, and I want to be able to record the work that I've done. So let's say I'm replace with new part. I can put a feedback type as well. And I'm going to say this is a repair. I can pick a failure code if I wanted to do that as well, and that can be done. And I can log the specific date and time. So if I was using the clock, it did not use the clock in and clock out, I can still put in the exact date and time I did the work. But because I'm actually just recording the time, I'm just gonna come in here and just say I did 2 hours of time here. And we can put in line notes as well. So line notes here, for that particular line, opposed to the entire work order. I can put specific parts, additional parts as well on the line if I wanted to do that. And I can add additional ones on the add button here as well. And from the usage, if we saw earlier, I can come in here and take a look and make sure that I got it in the right place and everything looks good. I can go ahead and complete this work order. Oops, something did not work here. All right, so anyway, so that submit would typically bring me into a finished work order, and that would update at that point in time. I think that was it. I wanted to show. Maybe I'm just gonna give you another work order. I had picked the wrong one. Here we go. I'm gonna grab another work order that I know that is a little further from me, and one of these things that you can do. And I can see from here that in order to get from the assets on the pinpoint, and the blue is where I'm located, I can go ahead and click on here to launch my navigation, which is on the phone, and figure out how to get from one place to another before you start to work. That's it. Doyle,
Right.
I'll let it back to you.
Yeah, no, very good. That was great. I think we're almost at the end. I'd like to thank everybody for joining. If I could just add a couple things, the mobile app can be branded for a customer. So if you've got a big enough customer and that's important to them, we've had some customers where we'll brand the mobile app for the customer. It's also a really nice tool that can be used for outside service providers. So, we've got some clients that force their outside contractors that are doing maintenance work on assets to use the mobile app. And that's where some of those controls are really nice. We've got obviously the geo-fencing, but we also have some SLA, like vendor SLA functionality behind the scenes that we can configure and set up when you're using outside service providers. But I think that'll wrap it up. We can let people go unless anybody has any questions. I think we can shut down. We'll have another deep dive in about a month. But again, thanks everyone who joined today. Thank you very much.